students, in this session we will discuss about the photodetector or photodiode. And usually the photodetector or photodiode comes in the receiver section and it is used to detect the light. And this photodetector converts the light energy or light radiation into an electronic signal. And photodiodes are fabricated from silicon, gallium arsenide, antimonide, indium arsenide, lead selenide, lead sulfide. These are the materials which are usually used for constructing a photodiode. Basically, a photodiode is a PN junction and it is a reverse biased PN junction. And see, you can see the cross section of the PN junction which is used as a photodiode, and here you can see that the P region is this is the P region and this is the N region, and this N region is the substrate, and this is used for taking the connections, and here also there is a connection, and it is reverse biased. For the PN junction to act as a photodiode, it should be reverse biased. So this terminal, P terminal will be connected to negative and N terminal will be connected to positive. You can see here, this is a reverse biased PN junction. Basically in the if there is no bias is applied, when a PN junction is formed, there will be a depletion region, and the N side has got a larger number of electrons and a P side has got a larger number of holes, and depletion region is formed between this P and N region. See, when a light wave is incident on this PN junction, you can see that energy will be absorbed, that light energy will be absorbed by this material. See, you can see the band energy diagram, so you can clearly get the idea. See, this is the P side and this is the N side, and this is the position of valence band and this is the position of conduction band, and there is an energy gap between this valence band and conduction band. Similarly, in the P side also you can see the valence band and conduction band here, and P side is abundant of holes and N side is abundant of electrons. When a light energy is incident on this PN junction or this material, this light will be absorbed so that the electron hole pairs will be produced. You can see that when an electron hole pair is produced, electron will move to the conduction band in the P side and holes will remain in the valence band. Similarly, in the P side also, electron hole pair will be generated and this electron will move to the conduction band and holes will remain in the valence band. This is the case when it is not biased, and when we are giving an incident light, the process taking place in the PN junction is like this. If we are applying a negative bias like this in this PN junction, what will happen? You can see that P side is connected to the negative terminal of the battery, so that the holes will be attracted to this negative terminal. Similarly, N side is connected to the positive terminal of the battery, so that electrons will move to this side. You can see the electrons in the valence conduction band of P side also move to this negative terminal of the battery, or also move to the N side. Similarly, the holes in the valence band of N side also move to the P side, or then it move to the negative terminal of the battery. So this movement of the electrons and holes produces a current in the external circuit. That is the working of this PN junction. That means here you can see that any photon is incident here, and that photon will produce electron hole pairs in the PN junction, and when a bias is applied, those electrons will move to positive terminal of the battery and holes will move to the negative terminal of the battery, so that the incident photon will be converted to electronic energy. That is the process what is happening in the case of photodiode or photodetector. Usually it is used in the receiver side in order to receive the light energy transmitted through the fiber. So you can see that it is a PN junction, and when a photon of light is absorbed, it excites an electron and produces a single pair of electrons and hole. If the incident photon energy is greater than the band gap energy of the electrons, then these electrons are pulled up in the conduction band and leaving holes in their place in the valence band. And these electron hole pairs occurs throughout the P layer and N layer. If an external voltage is applied, the electrons flow away from the electrons flow away from the P side, and holes flow away from the N side to respective electrodes, and these electrons and holes generate current in the semiconductor. So that is what in the case of photodiode. That is what happened in the case of a photodiode, and you should draw this diagram. And next is the absorption coefficient. See, we know that in the case of photodiode, when a light is incident on the PN junction, electron hole pairs will be produced, and in order to make a current flow, the incident photon energy for moving the electron from the conduction band to the valence band, for moving the electrons from the valence band to the conduction band, the incident photon energy should be higher than that of the band gap energy. See here, the band gap is shown, and for the movement of the electrons from this valence band to the conduction band, the incident photon energy should be higher than the energy gap. So for the electron hole generation, the energy of the incident photon should be at least equal to the band gap energy, and the upper or long cutoff wavelength corresponding to this will be equal to, that is represented by lambda c, that is the cutoff wavelength lambda c equal to 1.24 divided by energy gap Eg. So energy gap and incident photon wavelength are related by this equation, and the corresponding photocurrent produced by the incident optical power Pin is given by I photon current, that is photon current will be equal to Pin into E 1 minus R into 1 minus e raised to minus alpha 0 d divided by HF, where E is the electron charge and R is the Fresnel reflection coefficient and D is the absorption width of the absorption region. And similarly, we can formulate an equation corresponding to the light intensity. For the light intensity at a distance x from the semiconductor surface is given by I of x is equal to I0 into e raised to minus alpha x. And here alpha shows the absorption coefficient. These are important equations, and this will be useful for solving problems. And next is the direct and indirect absorption. See, in the case of direct absorption, the condition is that the conduction valence band maxima will come exactly below the conduction band minima. So in that case, a direct absorption takes place. In direct absorption, photon is absorbed and the electron is directly moved from the valence band to the conduction band without any change in crystal moment. See, if the valence band maxima comes exactly below the conduction band minima, then it is easier for the electron to move from valence band to conduction band. And so in that case, direct absorption, when we are giving a photon, then direct absorption will be taking place. That is, photon will be absorbed and electron is directly moved from the valence band to the conduction band without any change in the crystal momentum. See, next is the case, and here you can see that the valence band maxima is not exactly below the conduction band minima. So in order for the transition to take place, we have to change this point to here. So there should be a change. We have to change the momentum of the electrons here. So in that case, indirect transmission or indirect absorption will take place. See, when a photon we will give, here we are giving a photon, and in order to take this transmission, that is in order to absorb, this photon will be absorbed from the by the valence band particles, and in order to move these electrons from here to here, this momentum of this electron situating in this conduction band should be changed. So in indirect band gap semiconductors such as silicon and germanium, the assistance of photon is required to keep the energy and momentum conserved, and this reduces the transition probability. So comparing to the direct transition, the probability of the indirect transition is less. So in order to take the transition in this case, we have to change the momentum. So in this case, there is a need of conservation of momentum and energy. Next is the photodetector materials, and based on the application or based on the wavelength of the incident light, there are different photodetector materials, and for short wave band, and here the wavelength will be 800 to 900, and in such cases silicon or pin diodes are used for short wave band operation, and in the case of medium wave band, that is the wavelength is in between 1250 nanometer to 1350 nanometer. In such cases, germanium and different compounds semiconductors are used, and such as indium gallium arsenide phosphide. Next is long wave band, and in that case the wavelength is 1500 to 1600 nanometer, and in such cases gallium arsenide materials are used. You can see that these are the three windows of operation of light in the case of optical fiber, and first is situated around 900 nanometer, second is situated around 1300 nanometer, third one is around 1550 nanometer. These are the three windows of operations, and for these three windows different materials are used. This one, these are the different materials used. So next is the quantum efficiency. To quantify the photon absorption ability, the parameter quantum efficiency is used. So the quantum efficiency eta is given by the ratio of number of excited electron hole pairs to the total number of incident photons. So eta is equal to gamma EHP, that is the number of electron hole pairs per second divided by total number of incident photon, that is gamma photon. See, we can write the equation for this quantum efficiency eta in terms of the reflection coefficient, that is eta is equal to 1 minus r into 1 minus e raised to minus alpha into d, where d is the thickness of the absorption area and alpha is the absorption coefficient, r is the reflectivity of the front interference. So you can see from this here, in order to improve the quantum efficiency, we have to reduce this reflectivity. So smaller reflectivity will produce a higher quantum efficiency. Similarly, the larger absorption coefficient alpha and larger thickness d produces higher quantum efficiency, but we cannot increase the larger thickness. We cannot increase the thickness beyond a certain limit. It will reduces the overall efficiency. Next is the responsivity, and the responsivity R of a photodetector is defined as R is equal to I photon, that is photon current divided by P in that is power of the incident photon. So R is equal to I photon divided by P in, and we know that the incident photon current will be equal to eta into P in E divided by H into F. So responsivity and quantum efficiency are related by the equation R is equal to eta into E into lambda divided by Hc. Next is long wavelength cutoff. There is a long wavelength cutoff that is corresponding to wavelength, that means above which the photons are not absorbed by the semiconductor. We know that in order for the transmission for the electron from the valence band to the conduction band, the incident photon energy should be at least equal to the energy gap. So the long wavelength cutoff indicates that above that cutoff frequency, the photons are not absorbed by the semiconductor material, and this wavelength is called long wavelength cutoff, and it is indicated by the letter lambda c, that is equal to hc divided by eg, and where h is the Planck's constant, c is the velocity of the light, and we can write the equation for lambda c as 1.24 divided by eg. This is all about this session. Thank you.